And welcome in. We've got Charlie Miller and, of course, the great Don Fischer joining us. Don, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well.
It's at least it's a pretty morning out, so I can say that it's a pretty Monday morning. So there's that. Charlie, how are you doing, sir? How was your weekend?
Weekend was well, guys. I'm hoping everybody's doing well too.
Don, you've got double duty starting up, so I'm trying to ignore everything that I can ignore about over the weekend. But I guess there's no you can't ignore it too long. Indiana falls to the Michigan Wolverines over the weekend, 29-7 up in Ann Arbor, and we're getting close to the end of the season, unfortunately. But that's where we are right now.
Well, there's no question, and probably that's fortunate because we are moving to the end of the football season, of which we have seen a lot of expectations shattered this year. And I think that's the biggest thing when you look at this ball club and the program right now is the struggles that they've had have really kind of taken everybody back a little bit and made this probably a more disappointing year than we've had in a long, long time because of the expectations that were there off of last year and the year before. They were 8-4 2 years ago. They were 6-2 last year. And then you come and you're 2-7 going into your final 3 games of the campaign. That's tough to take. And especially when you were expected to be much better than that and had, I think, about 17 or 18 starters back from the year before. So, as everyone knows, injuries do play a big role in it, but nobody expects you to, you're supposed to overcome those injuries. And Indiana has not been able to do that thus far. And we're seeing a freshman quarterback that is struggling at this point in the season. He's struggling primarily because of his throwing. It's not that he can't. He is definitely a really good runner. I think the one thing you saw in that game, and I will give Nick Sheridan, the offensive coordinator, a lot of credit with what they tried to do offensively, especially at the outset of the contest. And Michigan had a tough time stopping Indiana's run game with Donovan running it. But at the same time, McCulley's throwing was certainly exposed in this game. He struggled to throw the football effectively. And that's got to change too. I mean, but again, this is a freshman learning against some of the best teams in the country, dealing with things that he's never had to deal with before, learning how to read defenses, going up against teams that are game planning for him because they're going to put pressure on you. The offensive line can't block well enough to keep the pressure off. The run game doesn't work when your blockers can't open holes. There are so many things that this kid's dealing with. So I put none of this on him at all, even though I think he's got to throw the ball a lot better than he did last week, to say the least. But it's such a struggle right now.
Yeah, I made the comment the other day that a year ago, Don, he was preparing for a sectional championship in high school. Yep. And this year he was preparing to go up to Ann Arbor, which is, like you just said, a whole different kettle of fish. But he'll have to move forward and learn, and I guess there's no way to learn to baptize him by fire. That's certainly what he's been thrown into, being the third man down. He was never expected to ever play in some of these games, but he did, and that's opportunities that I guess he can look to gain from. But the team, they've got to do some self-awareness and look into the mirror and see what some of the things that did not go wrong, that went wrong, that we didn't expect. The offensive line we talked about, and you mentioned there's 16 or 17 starters returning, and so it was quite disappointing. A few more games left in this season. Bowl eligibility is out the window, so now they can just play for pride if there's that. But they do have to finish the season, and so they've got a few more games that they've got to play.
Well, the challenge right now is on Tom Allen to keep these kids' heads up, to keep them fighting out there. I don't think there's much tougher challenge that any coach has than dealing with this kind of a season when the expectations were so high and now everything's down in the dumper, so to speak. And how do you fix it? How do you keep kids motivated to continue to strive to get better? Those kinds of things. Maybe young guys, that's okay with, but these seniors and guys that are at the end of their college careers for the most part, maybe the end of their football lives for the most part, how do you keep those guys up when you're dealing with this negativity? And let's face it, they're getting the negativity from lots more from just it's really not coming from the team as much as it's coming from outside. and they're reading these things like everybody, and the social media is ripping them apart. It's a tough go. There's no question about it. So what I say is at this juncture, tune all that stuff out. The only thing, I mean, that's what coaches tell you. Get off social media. Don't be looking at that stuff. And they're right. But it's really hard for kids to do that these days because that's what they grew up with.
Charlie, I'm sure you've dealt with something like that in your athletic career. There's always ups and downs.
Oh yeah, I mean, you want to pop your head into the student union when you just beat University of Michigan or somebody. You walk in with your head up high. When you lose a game, you don't want no part of the student union, right? You don't want no part of the IDS. I'm being just around the campus, right? And then now I can only imagine it's multiplied with social media, right? Because you have Twitter, you have all these outlets, and that's just the one thing. You got to think about the seniors. I mean, like Don said, let's face it. You hope you can keep some of those guys motivated because it's it. They're ready to move on. So you hope that they can also transfer the tradition of the LEO method. Whether you win or lose, you gotta keep your head right now. You must keep it because you are playing for pride. And pride for me stands for personal responsibility and daily excellence. You gotta keep it right now. You got to, because if you don't, it's tough because now it's going to go into off season. That's might affect recruiting. I mean, it might be a whole trickle down. I don't want to go too far, but you gotta play for pride right now.
Don, and for you, it's your part of your job is to bring excitement and all these things. And I imagine that's hard to do when you've gone through with these teams as well. But you've done a heck of a job of it so far. I can say that.
Well, I've had a lot of experience.
That's right. Hey, and I could probably say I was probably part of some of Don's experience. Thank you, Don. Thank you.
Well, the thing about it is, I mean, I love my job. I've always loved doing play-by-play. It's to me, it's so much fun. It's very fulfilling in that regard. The struggles are always dealing with losing. I mean, when you're winning, everything's okay. Everybody's having fun, and you enjoy it and that kind of thing. Dealing with losing is not ever fun, especially for people who are competitive. And if I'm nothing else, I am competitive. Doesn't mean I win anything, but I am competitive. I'm going to compete. I'm not going to give up. And I think that's what you look for at this point with teams that are struggling. Are you going to still compete? Are you still going to battle out there? I didn't see Indiana not battling on Saturday. I thought the defense played better this week than they have the last couple of weeks. I still think they're dealing with so many injury issues that have hurt them. To see Tywan Mullen not out there and Reese Taylor, the two starting corners, they haven't played in 3 weeks or almost 4 weeks now in some cases. And Tywan's been hurt since the Western Kentucky game. So you're looking at a team that's battling some injury issues. You're seeing other kids step up and play hard, maybe not with that same ability. There's a reason that these other guys were the starters and the other guys are backups. So we're looking at a team that's hurting at this point. And can they get well? I don't know if they can or not, but they have an opportunity this week. They got a Rutgers team that's coming in. They're battling their own demons. They've lost 4 of their last 5 ball games. So this is a ball club that you could beat. And I don't think there's any question that Indiana, if they give effort on Saturday, will have a chance to win this football game. And maybe that builds the confidence back again where now we've played Minnesota and now you got Purdue at the end of the year, a rivalry game. So there are a lot of things that you can still get this thing turned around with if you do it in the right vein and have the right mentality.
Yeah, Minnesota lost to Illinois over the weekend. That was a big surprise as well. So Minnesota also has had some injuries. So there's another team, like you said, if they could get 1-2 wins in a row, man, back-to-back wins does a lot for the mental aspect of the game. And you go into a rivalry game, then everything's off the table for that. Rivalry games, you never know what's going to happen there. So winning 3 games back-to-back, that would sure cure a lot of ills for this team.
No question. I do think that, and here's the other thing. We've seen Indiana and Purdue play at the end of seasons where Indiana has played had really tough years and And then they end up knocking off Purdue. And Purdue has done the exact same thing to Indiana, where Purdue has had a really rough go of it, and all of a sudden they step up and they knock off Indiana. And we're playing at West Lafayette this year. You think that wouldn't be? And they may be playing for a bowl, or even maybe for a piece of the division title, depending on what happens here in the next couple of weeks. Of course, they've got a challenge coming up too. They've got Ohio State coming up. And so at any rate, long story short, it's going to boil down to Indiana and what Indiana's mentality is going into these ball games. And if they've given up the ship, we'll see it. If they haven't, we'll also see that. And I think that's the thing that you can hang your hat on right now.
I talked about double duty coming up for you, and man, oh man, it begins today in earnest, actually, because you've got the coaches show tonight with Mike Woodson. It's Southern Stone Restaurant. We've got the basketball game tomorrow night. Then you've got the Tom Allen show on Wednesday night back at Southern Stone Restaurant. So, man, you're a busy man this week.
Well, not only that, we got Northern Illinois coming in for basketball on Friday, and then Rutgers on Saturday at noon. So it's going to be that's what we got. We got that's what happens in November these days. They've changed things around to the point now where you have like 7 or 8 games, basketball games, and 4 football games in the month, and then you got talk shows for both programs. So this has been ongoing for several years now, so it's nothing new.
I'm sure this year it's a little easier, but normally, how difficult is it for you just to switch between football and basketball that quickly?
Well, the biggest problem for me is we have the Neil Tire and Auto Service radio network for football, and we have the CareSource radio network for basketball. We can't get these salespeople to understand that I've got to go back and forth with this stuff. And you go, can you give me the same sponsor so I don't have to learn 2 different ways to close a freaking commercial break here? I mean, that's the biggest problem. That, and of course, you want your voice to hold up. And as you get older, your voice is not quite as strong as it used to be, if you know what I mean.
Well, absolutely. But when you are doing that much, there's no truth. There's a lot of truth to that. But then you've got these double shows that are coming up, and the shows are a different venue. You've got to travel, come down for these shows Monday and Wednesday, and games in between. It's a lot of traveling.
Yeah, there's no question. It's a tussle, and but it's really fun. I mean, it's not like digging ditches, guys. This is a lot more fun than digging ditches, trust me, or mowing lawns anymore. I still do that, and I get through mowing the lawn. I go, I got to get a riding more. This is not fun.
Well, we got basketball game coming up tomorrow night, the first of the season. What are you looking forward to in that?
You know, I'm really excited to see what this team does, especially in these first couple of weeks, just to see how they progress. You're playing a Eastern Michigan team that's under Stan Heath, the new coach there. Mike Woodson's new coach at Indiana. You got 2 rosters that have changed. So that always intrigues me to see how they all fit things together and what they look like at the beginning and how it will transition into the first couple of weeks of the year and see what they look like they're best at. I really think that this team is going to hang its head on defense. I think that's going to be the first thing you see, because they certainly did that in the Bahamas. That was the thing that came out of the Bahamas trip in the 2 games down there was their defensive play. So I think they'll hang their hat on that. We'll see if they're a better shooting team than they have been, because that's been a struggle here in recent years to get guys who could knock down shots and do it consistently. And I'm still not sure we're going to see that out of this team, because I haven't seen the consistency in practice. I mean, one day I walk in there and you got Parker Stewart knocking down shots, and then the next day you walk in there and it's Miller Kopp, and the next day you got Anthony Leal knock in 2 or 3, and you're going, oh man, we got a bunch of guys that can shoot the basketball, but the consistency of it is the question mark. But I do think that Mike's offense is suited for this team much better than what we've seen in the last couple of years. I think what he has done is instilled some confidence in these guys, and he's going to allow them to miss a shot or 2 and not get upset and understand that these guys are learning a new system, and it takes a little time. And when you're just practicing against your own teammates, it's great, but it's rarely as good as it needs to be to face outside competition. That's why you start these seasons with teams that maybe aren't the best that you're going to face by any stretch of the imagination, but it gets you ready, especially under a new system, to build confidence, to get comfortable with one another. And I think that's what you look for in the first couple of weeks of the season.
And Charlie, of course, starting out a new season, each year, like you said, Don said, there's kind of a different team, a lot of new faces on this. What are your expectations coming out?
I would say a lot what Don talked about. Let defense dictate offense. Just keep it simple. There's going to be a lot of expectations from what we've been hearing. Bahamas, Belmont, now margin for error, as Don talked about with players. Now they will have a chance in real games, so to speak, to actually see that flexibility, adaptability from Coach Woodson and staff. So the reaction response from the former players to what they were used to get after missing one or two shots, I think that's the willingness and the desire to play more defense, let defense lead your offense, and then find an identity. I mean, because we don't have one right now. Find an identity, right? So I'm not going to put too much in stock in anything other than also the advantage they have. I think the first 6 games, if I'm right, or 4 or 5 are at home.
Yeah,
so there's no travel.
They play St. John's on the road. That's the one
on the
game
road, right?
That's next week. That's
right.
A week from Wednesday. Yeah,
right. So a lot of the games at home. So you get a chance to get the fans behind you, getting that 6th player with the fans. So I look forward to just seeing just the adjustments, the flow, the play. Their interactions. Are they playing with fun? Are they having fun? Right. So, yeah.
We got to let Don go so he can save his voice because, like he said, he's got a lot to do this coming week. And we don't want to be a part of wearing his voice out. So Don, anything else? But aside, we got the coaches show, the first coaches show with Coach Woodson tonight.
Yeah, we're looking
Stone Restaurant.
Looking forward to that. I mean, Mike's done it great. I did a Boys and Girls Club thing the last 2 weeks ago, and that was really fun with him. And so I'm looking really forward to these shows with him this year. Mike he told me this. He had they can't understand. I hung up on him once. I don't know why they wouldn't understand it. At any rate, Mike told me that he had a radio show and a TV show in New York when he was the Knicks coach. So he is used to this kind of stuff. So it's not like you're getting a coach that, when Mike Davis took over at Indiana, Mike hated doing these talk shows and stuff. And he talked so soft, when Mike was, when he was talking, I don't really think we're going to be, that kind of thing. But Mike is not afraid of the microphone, which is
Woody's a pro,
really
man.
good thing.
Woody's a pro,
and he gets it. And so it's going to be fun to work with him. And I'm looking forward to this week because I can't wait to see what this team looks like against outside competition. Since I did not go to the Bahamas, so I didn't get to see that. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
And I think a lot of people are looking forward to hearing you on the mic for a basketball game as well, man. And we look forward to that as well, Don. Can't wait till tomorrow night.
Yep, I'm looking forward to broadcasting a win.
Thank you, sir. We'll see you soon. I'll see you at Southern Stone.
You bet. Thanks, guys. See ya.